Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy JT, and I am finally here for the Paper Mario and the Origami King retrospective. I finally beat the game, even though I beat it like, 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm finally here to give my thoughts and feelings towards the latest entry in the Paper Mario series. A couple of things before I start, though. One, I ain't got a script for this. I'm just kind of saying what I'm saying off the top of my head. Like, I got some notes over here on my other screen. I'm going based off that so I don't lose too much track of myself, but I'm pretty much just saying what I'm feeling. And the second thing is that there's going to be minor spoilers, if not major, depending if I go in depth with some of the stuff later down the road. So if you plan on playing this game, if you want to be surprised by what happens in the story or the gameplay, and you don't want me to spoil it, then just stop watching the video right now. That's all I'm going to say. And also that I'm going to be showing off footage from time to time, depending on the subject I'm talking about, but I don't have footage for everything, because I recorded this after I beat the game, so cutscenes and certain scenario shits like that won't pop up. So I'll be talking about most stuff, but some of it will actually have footage of what I'm talking about, but not all of it, because, my ass is only okay, so what you gonna do? But let's get right into this bitch and go step by step on what I thought about this game. Alright, so first thing, the story. I'm just gonna be talking about the story in a nutshell and what I thought about it. So the story in a nutshell is Mario and Luigi are going to Princess Peach's castle because, they're invited to the Origami Festival, a festival celebrating everything origami because, origami's fucking great. And they get there and Toad Town is just barren as hell. There's nobody there. So they go to Peach's castle, ain't nobody in there either. Luigi dips to go look for somebody, Mario goes on ahead, and then the scene that plays from that they showed off in the trailer comes in, where I will give them credit, was kind of ominous and eerie, and I did like it, where Princess Peach comes out the door, but she's like all origamified, like she's folded into origami, and she's speaking all this weird shit like, do you think origami rules all? And do you think the toads are just pieces of shit? I'm not kidding, she essentially says that. And do you want to be folded into perfection? I said no to all of this. I don't know what happens if you pick yes, if she does what she's about to do next regardless, or if she folds you into origami. But if you said no to everything, she drops you into the dungeon, where I guess Bowser's minions were there before you, and because they're down there and they're getting folded into like origami soldiers. You can see like their silhouettes in the back, they're paper, then they get like magic folded into origami and then stapled shut. And I'm like, wow, if this was anything else, that'd be a scene in a fucking horror film. And while you're down there, you see Bowser. He's folded up, but he's not origami. They just kind of folded up in the square. They just kind of folded him up into a square, I guess, to fuck with him, and stapled him shut. So like, I'll say right now, for the majority of the game until endgame, he's folded like that. He at least talks and has dialogue, and he's still the Bowser I love and know from the Paper Mario series, so that's still good. But while you're down there, you find somebody named Olivia. She's trapped in the wall, and you gotta save her. And I guess she was put in there by, well, not I guess I know. She was put in there by the main bad guy of the game, who we're about to meet in a second. So you free her, you go to the roof of the castle, and then you meet the main baddie of the game, Ollie, who is Olivia's brother, who thinks, man, origami is so fucking good, man. I'm gonna make the world origami. It's gonna be so great. And then Olivia's like, no, stop it. And then Ollie is like, but what if? And then he sends a whole bunch of, like, different colored streamers to attack you and wrap the castle up nice and tight so you can't get back in. So you dip with Olivia and Bowser. You hop in his clown car. Ollie gets one good shot at you with one of the streamers, and you all go flying away. Like, you fly away with Olivia, but Bowser fucked off until, like, near endgame, so we'll get back to him later. And you land safely way out of the, reach of the castle in Toad Town. And from this point on, it's purely just, your standard chapter-by-chapter game. You go to each chapter, destroy the appropriate colored streamer, and when you do, it unwraps that streamer that's wrapped around the castle, and then when they're all gone, you can go back to Peach's castle and, like, confront Ollie. There's 5 streamers total. There's red, blue, yellow, purple, and green. And when you get rid of all of them, back to Peach's castle you go. That's essentially the plot. Stop Ollie from being a douche, trying to make the world perfect origami, and work with Olivia to, make him cut his shit. That is essentially the story in a nutshell, if that is the best way I can put it. If you want to know more about it, like I said, you can look up a YouTube video, you can play the game yourself if you feel like it, but, all that jazz. But that's the story. Alright, so, next, let's talk about the characters and, like, their writing. Because I got some stuff to say. But let's start off on a real positive note. Mario himself, the main character, Mr. Video Game himself, I absolutely adore in this game. Like, Mario's more known for being like a cardboard box, especially compared to Luigi in terms of his personality. But Paper Mario, I always thought, well, not always, he didn't start really having a personality, in my honest opinion, until Color Splash, I want to say. Like, he's got some hints of it from the first 4 games, but in this game, oh my god, Mario has so much personality, like, no joke. He dances, he emotes, he shows, like, not like fear, but like shockment, and like, he does a lot of things, and like, wow, why can't we have this Mario in general? Like, this shit's on mainstream Mario, like 3D, 2D, Mario and Luigi. I love this Paper Mario so much. He's such a joy. I think he emotes more than Luigi does in general in this one game, and I love it. Luigi is in this game, and he does have his Luigi moments. Oh, and by the way, in case you're wondering what happened to Luigi in the story that I completely left out, he's totally fine. Because one thing I forgot to mention is that when Ollie wraps the castle around with streamers, he launches it into the sky, kind of like Bowser did in Paper Mario 1 to some extent, and the rubble left behind from where the castle was, Luigi was in it. So Luigi's fine. He tries to help you out on the adventure. You bump into him from time to time because he's desperately trying to find the key to the castle, but instead he ends up finding different keys that lead to different scenarios that do help us out on the adventure, but it's not the castle key. I'll get into where the castle key is near the end because I did get a chuckle out of it. But, yeah, Mario, great. I love him. He's such a joy in this game. And then there's Olivia, your partner for the game. Kind of like Curtsy in Sticker Star and Huey from Color Splash. I love Olivia. She is a total sweetheart. She's so kind-hearted. She wants to be friends with everybody. And, like, she wants to stop her brother, but still try to make him see that, you know, he's being wrong, like totally wrong, because you shouldn't force fold people into origami. That shit ain't right. But she's such a total sweetheart, and she, like, genuinely wants to help out everyone. She shits on Curtsy from Sticker Star. Let me say that right now. Dear God, I do not like Curtsy from Sticker Star. She is awful. Huey is better, but, like, still nothing really special. I mean, he was a good guy and all that, but he was just kind of there. But Olivia, like, you know, she does a lot in the game. Like, not to say the others didn't. It's just, like, you know, stuff I'm going to talk about later down the road. She does help you in battle, and her dialogue is just so nice. Like, she's oblivious to the outside world because she's never really explored it before. So she's always got something to say whenever you go to, like, a new location and everything like that. So it's nice to see her interact with the world for the first time because it's like, oh, man, I've never seen all this shit before. Like, think... for Sonic fans, think how Chip was with Sonic, since he's never actually seen the world before, and he was like all wowed by everything that was going on throughout your adventure. Kind of like that, to make a similarity to people who played Sonic Unleashed or know about it. But Olivia's nice. I love her. She's great. And then there's Big Bad Mr. Koopa, Bowser. Bowser, you really don't see him a lot in this game. Not on the same length, I want to say, as Sticker Star or even Color Splash, but man, he has not been making a lot of appearances in the Paper Mario games since Super Paper Mario. Like, he's there at the beginning, you get split off from the castle, like I said earlier, and then you don't meet him again until endgame. And like I said, the entirety of this game, or like till near, like, legitly the very end, he's folded into a square. It's only after you about to confront Ollie, like right at the end, does he finally get unfolded, because like I said, he gets a staple in the back of him because he was stapled into a square. But when the staple comes out and you whack him with your hammer, that helps unfold him, and he's back to his big Bowser self. So that was good to see. But in terms of dialogue and everything, he's still the same Bowser I know and love from the Paper Mario games. I love his dialogue. I love how he tries to be large and in charge because, you know, he's the goddamn Koopa King and you'll respect this man. And he is still Bowser in the end. I'm just sad that he wasn't really in the game as much. Again, the man's been going downhill in terms of appearances since Super Paper Mario. He's only like here and there every so often. If I could total the amount of time he was in this game in total, half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, Jesus Christ. But he's still the same Bowser. So that's all good. And then I'm just going to summarize this one as a whole. The Toads in general in Toad Town. Now, I normally don't like Toads, except for Toadette, because I think she's just a treat. And for people who know me well enough on this channel, if you've been watching us, I've brought up how I don't really like the Toads, except for Toadette, like I said. But the Toads in Paper Mario, this one specifically, I do love their dialogue, because they actually have some sort of personality instead of running all over the place like, oh god, Bowser's attacking, oh shit, everybody run for the hills! They actually have some personality. Some are smart asses, some are kind, some are assholes, some are dumbasses. One line I do remember from the game is that it's a feature I'll get into later, more in depth, but when you save one of the Toads, you know, everything's going wrong at this point. Ollie's already like trying to take over the kingdom and shit. You save one of the Toads, and then he goes, man, isn't it a wonderful day out and nothing could go wrong? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Mushroom Kingdom's in danger. And then he goes, and on an unrelated note, I think I have a memory loss, because I don't remember what the hell is going on right now. And I was like, oh, well, that explains a lot. And then you re-talk to him, and he's like, huh, nope, can't remember a thing. Man, today is great. Yeah, but the Toads always have something smart to say, whether it's the Toads at the shop, the Toads regularly on the street, or the Toads the Toads are everywhere in this game. A Paper Mario staple. No matter what chapter you go to, there's gonna be Toads, but they always have something smart to say, and I can't really complain about them. They're funny. Like, their dialogue did crack me up. Next, let's talk about your quote-unquote partners. I say quote-unquote because one thing that ever since Super Paper Mario, if you want to be technical, because you do get partners in that, I just don't think they have much charm to them like the first two games. Mario doesn't really have partners in the Paper Mario games. Like, you could argue that, you know, he's got like the cards and sticker like assist real quick from Sticker Star and Color Splash, but they're not like partners that stay with you. They're just in card and sticker form, so that really doesn't count. You technically have partners in this game, but you don't actually control them. They attack on their own. It's only ever one attack each time. They don't switch it up at all. It's just the same attack. But let's get into the first partner, Bobby the Bob-omb. I don't like Bobby. Like, oh god, oof. Okay, let me get the negatives out first, just so I can get some positive. Bobby as a character is fine. I think his writing is okay. If you want to know his little story arc, he's a Bob-omb that has memory loss, and he's trying to find out, like, remember who he is and everything. So he tags along with us, hopefully to get his memory back. And spoilers, the only reason he gets the memory back later on is because he sees some fireworks go off in the distance after completing one of the future chapters, and he's like, wait, fireworks explode. Bombs explode. I'm a bomb. Holy shit, I'm a bomb. Like, no joke. That's pretty much how it went. And, visually, I'm sorry to say this, he's just a regular Bob-omb. Like, black standard Bob-omb with, like, brown shoes. The only thing that makes him somewhat unique is the fact that he doesn't have his fuse. There's a story reason for that I'll get into in a second, but, like, he's just a standard Bob-omb. Design-wise, he's no Bombette from Paper Mario 1, who was a pink Bob-omb, a female Bob-omb, with, instead of a standard white fuse, she had like a brown rope knitted fuse that I thought looked cool. And he sure as shit ain't no Admiral Bombery from Thousand Year Door. Admiral Bombery, he was that nigga. Like, he was a pirate, he had a captain's hat, he had an on point mustache and an eye patch, and he was just a great person to have. And spoilers, in the future in terms of like gameplay, the only move Bobby does is this little forward dash that does hurt the enemy a lot and can one-shot enemies if he lands it. I stress, if he lands it, because Bobby and every other partner you get in this game, all the other two of them, can occasionally miss their attacks, but I feel like nobody missed their attacks more than Bobby. First of all, like I said, he only dashes, even though he's a goddamn Bob-omb and he can't explode. Again, there's a reason for that I'll get into in a second after I'm done bitching about this, but he only dashes, and once in a while, in fact a lot with him in particular, he will trip dashing towards the enemy and that waste a turn. When he's not doing that little ass inconsequential fucking move, he's just chilling on the battlefield next to you and looks like he's on vacation. And ooh, I don't like Bobby as a partner, because like when I see that animation of him tripping and wasting my turn, I just get so fucking triggered. I don't like Bobby. His dialogue is whatevs. He has a few funny moments, and the reason why he doesn't have his fuse is because he originally was on one of Princess Peach's cruises that eventually got ambushed by a giant-ass origami blooper. And in the accident, his fuse came off, he fell into the sea, and when he washed up on, like, land, he lost his memory. And for future reference, I'm gonna say right now, Bobby dies. Yeah, he dies. Olivia, during the entrance to Chapter 3, gets crushed under a boulder by Ollie to try to stop Mario and her's progression to try to get to him. And Bobby gets the idea. This is a point after he gets his memory back. He goes and says, "Oh, I think I may have a way to free Olivia from underneath the boulder." Then he goes back to the cruise where he lost his fuse and fell offshore. He finds his spare fuse that one of his boys had, takes that fuse, brings it back, and he sacrifices himself by blowing up the boulder and then dies. And that's not a joke. Like, Bobby, he's dead. He's dead. And that alone, I'm sorry if you're a fan of Bobby, I don't know why, I won't shit on your opinion, but if you're a fan of Bobby, I'm sorry, he went out like a puss, because I honestly believe that after playing several other Paper Mario games beforehand, that him blowing up should have killed him. Bombette and Admiral Bombery blew up all the time, and they were just fine. That one pixel from Super Paper Mario, whose name I can't remember, he blew up and he was totally fine. But Bobby blows up, that's it, he's dead, and I don't miss him. Again, if you're a fan of Bobby, more power to you. I don't care for the guy. But that's all I gotta say about Bobby, because I've been ranting about him enough, but it kind of goes up from there in terms of partners, kind of. Next is Professor Toad. You get him in Chapter 3, which is the desert level. Fun! And, he's, what's the word I'm looking for? Not an archaeologist, if that is the word I'm looking for. Like, I'm forgetting the word, but, like, he studies ancient ruins. He wants to learn about the ancient civilization that used to live in the desert and all that. He's your partner, and the way he attacks is he has a shovel, which he uses for digging out coins from in the sand in the hub world, which can net you, like, a lot of rewards and shit. And I do like that feature, but he also does that to attack. He'll scoop in the ground, lift it up, and a fuckload of coins will come out and hit the enemy upon impact and, like, kill them. Unlike Bobby that can only attack one person at a time, Professor Toad's attack does attack everybody he's facing. So it's like 4 people potentially can get hit at once. And its attack is pretty strong, because, like, that's actually funny thinking about it, because Mario's been picking up coins since, like, the late, like, mid-80s. But no one ever actually bothered to think, what if you didn't physically grab the coins and they just fell on you? I'm like, I'm sure those shits are heavy. So at the same time, I'm also like, yeah, dude, you just scooped out coins and used them to kill the enemies. Can I, like, pick up that money and put it in my pocket afterwards? Like, that, you can't do that, but I wish that was something you could actually do. Just like Bobby, he can miss too, but he doesn't miss as often. One thing in the game I think I figured out, I don't know if it was just luck on my end, but I think the more partners you get in the future, the less likely they are to miss an attack. Because Professor Toad did miss attacks from time to time, but he didn't miss them nearly as much as Bobby. And one thing I should point out right now, Bobby, Professor Toad, and the one last partner I'm about to mention after Professor Toad, it's not like standard Paper Mario where they come with you throughout the whole adventure. They are stuck in that chapter. So you get Professor Toad in Chapter 3, but he can't leave Chapter 3. Not because, like, well, technically, no, it is because he feels like it, because it's like, no, I'm gonna stay here, you guys do your thing. So if you go to a warp pipe that leads you back to Toad Town, because each world has a warp pipe that you can just instantly go back to that world if you want to backtrack easier, they stay behind in the world where you got them. This applies to Bobby and the other partner I'm about to mention. So that kind of sucks. Again, I would love partners again like the first 3 games, but like, fucking Nintendo doesn't want that. But his dialogue, it's fine. He's really passionate about his work, and he's trying to really find out about this ancient civilization. Other than that, he's just kind of there. He was like kind of my least favorite Toads. I don't hate him. It's just his dialogue didn't leave me to like really remember him well enough or anything like that. I mean, the only one good thing I can think about that I actually liked about him is that in order to get into one of the boss temples, you have to like essentially say a secret phrase, or in this game's case, sing a certain song and do a little dance number, and just seeing him dance in the background, and then he does it again in the future of another boss in that same chapter, was a joy to see. Other than that, Professor Toad's okay. Nothing special, but he's okay. And the last partner you get, yes, there's only 3, is Kamek. Yeah, that Kamek, the one that's always with Bowser. Kamek is just trying to get, Lord Bowser back, because again, he's that nigga. But the thing about Kamek is fine, but okay, first of all, since he's the last partner you get, he does attack the most often. Like, his attacks are more to succeed than fail, since he's the last partner you get. My problem with Kamek is not so much the game itself, it's just that Kamek is just your standard, Wizard Koopa. Like, he really doesn't do much, in terms of both visually and, in battle, because like Bobby and Professor Toad, he only has one attack. It hurts, but that's it. It's just one attack. And my visual problem with Kamek is that, again, he's just a standard enemy that you keep seeing in the Mario games. The one thing I loved about the original Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door was Cammy, because she was a different kind of Magic Koopa, because, she was rocking a purple robe, and she had a personality to him. Kamek has a personality, but not like on the line of Cammy. And you could chalk that up to nostalgia with me, but like, Kamek is fine, but like, I prefer Cammy Koopa. Cammy was cool, but we haven't seen her since the second game, so I don't think she's coming back. In fact, one thing I could say off note, at the time of this recording, I think about a week ago, I was actually shown an article that the reason why unique looking partners don't appear in Paper Mario games anymore, I only skimmed it, so if I'm missing out some details, I'm sorry, you can try to look up the article for yourself, is the reason why they don't do it is just because, like, that's it. I literally don't know why. Like, it was a short article. It's just like, we're not going to make unique looking player models anymore for the Paper Mario games, which sucks because that's what gave them character. They stood out from the rest. You don't have just a standard Bob-omb. You got a pink female Bob-omb and a badass pirate Bob-omb. It's like, that looks cool. That's memorable. But they just stopped for some reason, and I don't think they're going to go back to it. And it sucks to say because that's the one thing I love about Paper Mario. It's the fact that standard enemies that you would see in the series stick out so much in this game because like they have their own personality, they have their own certain look. But now they're just back to the standard looking enemies, and Kamek falls under that, unfortunately. Dialogue be damned. Kamek is just It's kind of like Professor Toad, not as much, because I do like Kamek's banter, because he thinks he's such hot shit, because in the chapter you find him in, there's a lot of branching paths you have to go through, and you have to choose either to go with Olivia down her way or Kamek down his way. It doesn't really matter. It's not like one betrays you or leaves you if you pick the other. They're just like, "Aw, why didn't you pick me?" And then like we continue on like nothing even happened. Kamek, aside from one time at the end, is always right on the direction, and he knows it. He was like, "Yeah, you should always listen to me. I'm always right. Fuck Olivia." But like, he's better than Professor Toad, but he's okay. Like, I know I'm saying that a lot, but like, what can I say? These characters, like your partners in particular, are okay for the most part. Like, they do have some really fun one-liners and like quips here and there, but since they don't really talk all that much unless a cutscene plays, they're just kind of there. But I did love them. I did like them for the most part. And then there's Bowser Jr. He's not a partner you get. He's with Kamek, and Kamek's the only one that helps you in fights. But Bowser Jr. is just Bowser Jr. at the end of the day. If you know him from the 3D games and any other spin-off games, he's exactly the same here. The only thing I can say about Bowser Jr. is one part that caught me off guard, is that in the chapter where you find him where he's trying to save his dad, he tries to go headfirst into Bowser's castle because Ollie's goons took it over and he's trying to get it back. When he tries to go headfirst into the castle, the boss of that castle, which spoilers is a pair of scissors, and I'll get more into that later, comes out and straight up cuts him into pieces, and they make it look like a shocker moment in like an anime or a horror flick, because he's technically dead, and the only reason he gets put back together is because we put him in some nice healing juices and a spa in heaven. I'll get more into that later, and that puts him back together. But if those weren't there, that's it. Bowser Jr. would have been dead, and I was like, holy shit. Wow. Well, that caught me off guard. But like, there's really nothing I can really say about Bowser Jr. He's the same he's always been in like the 3D games, the 2D games, the Mario and Luigi games. He's the same. So there's really nothing more to say about him. He's Bowser Jr. He's fine. And then there's finally the main bad guy of the game, Ollie. Ollie. Okay, so I'll get away with saying this right now as a positive. I do like that Ollie is trying to transform the world into origami because they're like all mummified slash zombified of the regular thing. Because like the origami folded enemies are just regular paper people, just folded up. And he really, really loves origami. Like, fuck paper. And going back to earlier, if you remember, I said there's a reason why he hates toads so much. So get this. His origin is, because some point in the story, you do meet the creator of Ollie. And I say just Ollie because the creator originally only made just Ollie. And the way you make an origami figure come to life is that it said you have to put each fold with love, care. You gotta put your heart and soul into each fold. And then bam, origami comes to life. Ollie came to life, was cool at first, and then noticed he had like a mark on him, like a scar, you can say. It was just his creator writing something on him, but he saw it as like, he knows it's writing, first of all, but he sees it himself as like a scar, like, oh, my creator fucking hates me, like, how could he? So he sees that, doesn't bother to read what's actually written on there, I might add, and he locks the creator up behind a wall, like the same way you find Olivia at the beginning of the game. He's trapped behind a wall. By the way, that's a running gag in this game. Every once in a while, you'll meet some people that are trapped behind the wall, and they keep making a joke like, "I think I'm in another dimension," when in reality they're just stuck behind the wall. That's a gag. The same goes for the creator of Ollie. So he locks him up behind the wall. Then Ollie himself makes Olivia. He makes Olivia, and after that, she's like, come, he's like, come sister, we must make the world origami. And then like Olivia's cool. She's like, no, you can't really do that. That wouldn't be right. And you know, he's not having any of that. He's not having any of that disobedience. So that's when he goes to Peach's castle to take it over and try to take over all the toads because his creator was a toad. Therefore, all toads are, you know, fucking evil and like that. Like they could all scribble on him. He ain't having that. And then that's when he locks her up behind the wall at the castle. Now, at the end of the game, yeah, like spoilers, you beat Ollie. Oh, fuck me, right? And before he dies, he asks Olivia to read, you know, the thing he should have read at the beginning from the get, what his creator wrote on him. Essentially, the creator just wrote, Ollie, I'm so proud of you. You're like one of my greatest creations. I hope you live a long, happy life, and I'll always care about you. Tell me why Ollie never bothered to read what was actually written on him. Again, he knows it's writing. He thinks of it as a scar, but he knows it's writing. And you can make the argument from where he is. Like, it's written like on his like stomach or chest, like where the creator wrote on him. And you can make the argument like, oh, maybe from his angle, he couldn't read it. But like, you know, see, there's a flaw in that logic. Olivia is with him. He could have easily just said, hey sis, what did our creator write on me? Like, you know, what does it say? Because he knows it's words. He knows it says something. But he's, like, okay, Ollie's reasoning for being the way he is, I don't like. And as a villain, he's bland. He's bland. He's standard evil villain. And like, I'll tell you right now, his boss fight actually wasn't even the hardest. Like, I fought in a lot of bosses along the way in the game, but there were a couple that I found harder than the final boss. They really weren't shit. But his reasoning, the villain as a whole, Ollie's just, ugh. He's just, ugh. Like, his reasoning really annoyed me. It's just, oh, why didn't you read it? You dumbass. But he dies and everything, and la-di-la-di-da. By the way, I will say, at the time of this recording, I have not 100%ed the game, because I know there's a secret ending if you 100% everything before encountering Ollie again. There was for Color Splash, and I know there is one for this game, but at the time of this recording, I haven't done it yet. So if there is a difference in it, I've probably seen it already by the time this goes up, which I'm kind of hoping for tomorrow, because you guys should be seeing this on a Wednesday if I got this up enough. But if I got this on time, but I know there's a better ending, potentially, if I get everything. However, Ollie, fuck right off. I didn't like Ollie. But my characters as a whole, because he was the last main one, no matter what other negative I end up saying about this game, I will never take away this game's charm. This is by far the most charming Paper Mario game I've ever played in my life. Yeah, I named some negatives, but every game has a negative. But this game has so much charm, I can't take it away from them. People who follow us on Twitter have actually posted some pictures and one dancing video that was straight from the game. This game's charming, what can I say? I can't hate it, because it's just, I mean, look at it. But that's it for the main characters. Now to go on to, like, the chapters and the graphics and what I thought of them. Okay, so like I said, there are 5 chapters total. Technically 7 if you count the prologue and the final chapter, but I'm going based off the streamers themselves. So like each streamer is a chapter. Like the red streamer is chapter 1, the blue one is 2, the yellow is 3, the purple is 4, and the green is chapter 5. The first chapter, when you get launched from Peach's castle at the very beginning, is the red streamer. It's like it's woods. Like you guys are seeing it right now because, you know, I wanted to show off every chapter. It's like, you know, there's woods, there's sentient talking trees, you know, there's Toad Town and all that, and like it has also like the standard grassy land and all that. And like if I could talk about one thing, I'm gonna mention this in each one of the chapters, the boss in each land. So the red streamer, the boss in that land. You remember how the bosses look in all the Paper Mario games? You know how they were unique and stood out? If you've ever played Paper Mario, you know how they look like? Yeah, forget that. Because every single boss in this game that's not like the Vellumentals, and the Vellumentals are like elemental, like animals. Like, I'll show them off right here. So the first Vellumental is a turtle, a sand turtle. The second boss is a water dragon. The third boss, I believe, is a phoenix, and the fourth Vellumental is a polar bear, if I remember correctly. Each one of these Vellumental fights are cool. I like their visual design. They're actually really fun to fight. At first I didn't care, which I'll get into the gameplay later. I was like, why? I didn't care at first, but like after a while, I grew to like these bosses. They're pretty cool. But the main bosses, the ones that are guarding the streamers, I think are the most blandest and just lazy boss designs in a Paper Mario game I have seen. I think in general, personally, because gone were the unique bosses and shit from the other Paper Mario games. What do you fight in the first chapter? Fucking colored pencils. Oh god, and there's fucking scissors. Oh, you want another unique boss? Here, have some tape, because the kids fucking love tape. And, what other boss is there? I'm trying to remember all the other bosses. Like, that's the problem. I can't remember what they are, because they're just so bland. Like, they're office supplies. Oh, right, a fucking stapler. Like, yeah, you know. And the one boss that I actually kind of liked because it wasn't standard was a rubber band boss, who isn't just a rubber band, he's like a rubber band being with like legs and hands and shit, but they're just office supplies. The bosses in this game are office supplies. When you're not fighting the Vellumentals to get their power, because Olivia can absorb the Vellumental's power and become them and help you solve puzzles, and even in battles, which I thought was dope, the actual bosses guiding the streamers, they're just fucking office supplies. And like, ugh, that was my main gripe with the first trailer, because like, look at them, these are things you can just find in a fucking Staples. And I don't like them, but like, just getting that out of the way now because I wanted to burst about it. But yeah, that's the first world, the woods, Toad Town, some grassy lands. The blue streamer, chapter 2, I really like this one. It's Japan themed. It's got like a lot of Japan related things. It's autumn, which looks really cool because I think visually I do love the look of autumn, you know, the leaves falling, turning different colors and all that. And there's even an attraction theme park you can go to later on in that chapter. You can get your pictures taken. You can do like a little ninja attraction where you got to find all the hidden ninjas. You have to find all of them to get one of the collectibles in the game. And there's a giant bell in the city where if you hit 100 times, a hidden toad comes out, which I'll get more into later. You wouldn't think to do that. I only did it because fuck it, why not? I was curious. And chapter 2 was a delight. I liked it. It was really charming. Again, this game has a lot of charm. Has some problems, but a lot of charm. And then the yellow streamer, as I mentioned before, is the desert. It's a desert. Now, to be fair, it's not a bad desert. Like, there's a giant open area, which I really don't like about desert levels, but it's a giant-ass open area. You have a shoe you can drive. Early on in the chapter, you free one of the toads, and he thanks you by giving, like, his prototype car, which is a giant fucking shoe, and it's a shoe on wheels, and you drive it around, and you can ram enemies to insta-kill them and get coins. So that makes searching the giant desert, like, bearable. Like, it's not that big, but, like, it's bigger than, like, what, the desert from Paper Mario 1. No, it's smaller than the desert in Paper Mario 1, since you have a car to get around. There's a city in the desert called Shroom City. Before it was Sniffit City, because the toads were missing, so the Sniffits took over and was like, well, I mean, if no one's taking this city, fuck it, Sniffits for life. And one other thing I loved about this chapter is that I posted a video of it, a clip of it on our Twitter, where the boss of that stage, which, oh, I forgot another boss, fucking, a hole punch. Again, office supplies, ugh. But the boss of that level, there's a dance party near the end, because we have to get him out of his quarters, and the hole punch wants something groovy, but you know, the DJ hasn't been able to put anything groovy on, so we find a disc that's like screams groovy and like disco and all that shit. And just seeing the dance party with the toads and like the hole punch that eventually comes out, it was nice. I like that. That's literally one of my favorite chapters just because of that end bit. I love it. The purple streamer is open sea level. Like, you soar the 7 seas, or as far as you can go. You can go underwater with a submarine. You can't move in the submarine. Like, the submarine is attached to the boat, and when you drop the submarine, you can look left and right with the gyro controls or the control stick, because you can turn on and off the gyro controls. You can search around in that area and pick up treasure and shit like that. Again, you can't physically move in the submarine. It's purely just for looking around your surrounded area and then grabbing what you can see. And you can visit different islands in the open sea. It's not just like point A to point B. Like, there's islands to explore, and you have to explore some of them to beat the chapter. But there's a lot of optional ones. There's an arena where you fight giant versions of, like, they're called paper machos, which essentially are the origami, like, enemies, but like bigger. Like, think of Parade Float, like how they look like it. Like, you're probably seeing it right now because I'm showing it off, but this is what they look like. There's just different kinds of islands you can see. There's one where there's an island purely just made out of like question mark blocks. There's one where you have to solve a couple of puzzles here and there. There's a lot of options out there in the sea. And if you keep going, you can eventually make the boat go faster, because at first the boat goes at an speed, but later on in the game, they're told like, oh, we can upgrade the boat so it goes faster. So it makes exploring the seas a lot faster. So, yeah, it was a fun chapter. I like adventuring in the seas. Ever since Thousand Year Door with good old Flavio. And the technically last chapter is like the standard cloud level in like a Mario game, where the green streamer is. It's a cloud level. It's essentially like heaven. You actually get hints of this chapter in the open sea chapter, because like you find these stone statues that talk about paradise hidden somewhere, and then the next chapter is that paradise when you actually find it in the sky. And like there's a spa resort. There are like these toads in wings. There's like these white toads, like they're all white, like pure white toads, and they have like wings and shit. The spa is also the reason when Bowser Jr. gets cut into pieces. The spas have like healing properties that put you back together, like uncrease your crinkles, make you look like fresh out the office. You're looking good. You're a good looking piece of paper. And all in all, the cloud level was pretty fun. There's also this one instance where a chain chomp follows you, like this monster paper macho chain chomp that follows you. And it's actually kind of creepy because this thing can just pop out of nowhere later on. And it's like a fucking horror game once in a while. And I did get caught by this thing a couple of times because I didn't know which way to go. But like those were like nice gotcha moments. So yeah, that was fun. Thanks, game. And then there's the final chapter, Peach's Castle. I mean, it's not that big because it's the final chapter, Like, you do a cool little sky battle heading towards Peach's castle, and you even control a cannon that shoots fucking bombs. Those poor bombs had souls, and now they're fucking dead, by the way. But it was so cool, I won't lie, I did like this chapter. And then when you actually get to Peach's castle, you know, you're with Bowser, you storm through. That's where you fight the Stapler boss, the thing that turned the people into origami. Well, not turned them into origami, but kept them in that form. And it's also the thing that kept Bowser shut. So once you defeat the Stapler, the staple comes out, you whack him, and bam, Bowser's back and large and in charge again. But Peach's Castle as a whole, I mean, it's not really that long. I mean, like, total, the chapter took me like 25 minutes to beat. It's short. It's the final area, so I'm not surprised, but whatever. But that's all the chapters in the game, and the graphics as a whole, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This game looks great. I honestly feel like every new Paper Mario game we get, it looks better and better. God, if we can get a Paper Mario game that looked like that and it played like the first two games, oh god, I would be so fucking happy. But I don't see that happening. But graphically, this game is just nice. I can't take that away from it. It looks pretty. What do you want me to say? Alright, so for the final bit of this, I wanted to save this for last. Let's talk about that gameplay. The thing that I was hesitant on at first, because I just wasn't jiving with it at first. So here's what's happening. Throughout this retrospective, and I know it's long as fuck, but I got a lot to say, so bear with me, folks. Throughout this journey, throughout this retrospective, I have mentioned that you save Toads. The premise of this game is, yeah, get the castle back from Ollie, but at the same time, you're saving Toads along the way. Now, this is something the trailer of the game first showed off when it came out, but just like finding the Toads in like Color Splash and Sticker Star, it's the same as this game if you played those two games. You find a Toad, you hammer it to unfold it from origami or pull it out from a hole or a crack like that to free it. And you do this for every single chapter. Like, every chapter has a section, and each section has its own 100% thing. Each chapter has a section. Each section has goals, like I just said. There's one for finding all the collectibles, one for hitting every question mark block, one for covering holes with confetti, because a big thing about this game is covering holes with confetti. It's like covering the missing paint spots from Color Splash. Another thing I keep bringing up because these two share a lot of properties. And, what was the last one? Let's see, collectibles, holes, question mark blocks, and the last one will come to me eventually. Like, I have notes over here, but like I'm not finding it. Pass me, you forgot that note. But yeah, you save Toads. Some Toads are folded into origami, not enemies, but like environmental things. Like, some is disguised as just regular grass. Some are literally just crumbled and you hammer them. You hammer majority of the Toads to free them. If not, you pull them out like I said. Some are folded in like into animals, into insects. You'll pretty much know what they look like right away. If you see something folded that looks like origami, but it's not an enemy, it's a Toad most likely. If not, you know, the latter, like I said, you just pull them out of the ground and they're noticeable as fuck. But yeah, when you save Toads, you get money for it, and a couple of times you'll actually get like rewards from, like, some of them will actually kind of reward you with like accessories and shit that I'll get into in a bit that can help you out on the journey. And like I said, one thing that's introduced at the beginning of the game is confetti. And, you know, like I said, just to make it short to recap, you throw it at a hole that you see a hole in the ground or in the wall, and you fill it up. Your confetti count in your back total always increases every time you defeat a main boss. So, you know, make sure you get a confetti when you can. You get confetti by killing enemies in battles or just whacking the environment like grass and trees. Like, it'll fall from the trees, it'll come out of the grass. So confetti is literally everywhere. You shouldn't technically ever run out. I got close to one time, but that's only because I wasn't hitting everything I saw. But confetti is literally everywhere. Just do that. Now, one gripe I do have about the gameplay is that, one thing that they went out of their way to explain is that the game is open world and you can go anywhere, kind of like the first two Paper Mario games. While that is true to some extent, I did get roadblocked for bullshit reasons. Like, okay, the game wants me to go this way. I'm gonna go the other way because I want to see what's over there beforehand. A lot of times in this game, I was roadblocked because my partner of that chapter would be like, or Olivia would be like, hey, where are you going? We gotta go this way. And I'm like, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. Like, I know where we're going. I'll just come by later. But like, they'll stop you, even though, like, you know, there's probably stuff over there, and like, I don't want to do it right then and there, because what if I forget later? And sometimes they roadblock you for a long ass time, because I want to go that way, and you're telling me to go this way for a good amount of time, and by the time I'm finally done, I'm probably going to forget why I wanted to go over there in the first place. So that was one gripe I had. It is open world for the most part, but there are moments where the game will roadblock you, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. So yeah, that was one gripe. Oh, one thing I do like is that, like I mentioned earlier, there is warp pipes that you can go from chapter to chapter. Like, Toad Town is your main hub. That's where you can go to access all the chapters once you actually find the corresponding warp pipe in that chapter. So like from Toad Town to chapter 1, or like Toad Town to chapter 2, and so on and so forth. Another method of traveling is via these houses with toads that have fax machines in them. You free them from their fax machine, because I don't know how they got in there in the first place. I think they mentioned that they were trying to hide and they only got their head in there. But you free them, and you can use their fax machines to warp to other locations. Well, I say warp to other locations because aside from the first one, like the main fax machine hub, you can only go to the first one. So like, say I went to the first fax machine I ever got. And I use that fax machine to go to another fax machine in different worlds. Now, say I wanted to go from the chapter 3 fax machine to like the chapter 5 fax machine. I can't do that because chapter 2 and onwards fax machines only warp you to the first fax machine, which I don't understand. So from the first one, for the first fax machine, you can go to other chapters fax machines, but from any other one, you can only warp to the World 1's fax machine. I don't get why that is. That seems like such a roadblock. I'm guessing they might have seen it. I guess they might have seen it redundant with warp pipes already being a thing. But like, if you're gonna give us that option for chapter 1, why not just have it for the entirety of, like, you know, all the other fax machines? I don't get it. I don't get why. But the thing I love about most is that that method of travel is called fax travel. Not fast travel, faxed travel. And I won't lie, I found that hilarious. I got a chuckle out of me, just like, okay, that's clever. I can't be mad at that. But if you're gonna warp from world to world, if you're not already near a fax machine, or if you want to go back to chapter 1 if you're in a later chapter, just take the warp pipes. You're better off doing it for that. But all right, let's get into the main meat and stew of the gameplay. Just, oh yeah, you can smell that stew. The gameplay, the actual, like, in-fighting gameplay. Now, this ain't Paper Mario 1 or 2, where it's like an RPG turn-by-turn thing. Well, it is, but how you do it is different. So, one thing you do about the main mechanic of, like, the actual fighting in this game is that you have to line up your enemies so you can attack them in either a line or, like, a square grid. If they are in a line, you jump on them. If they're on a square grid, yeah, Elmo Fudd. If they're on a square grid, you use your hammer. And you have to move the panels they're on to try and, like, match them into a line or into a square. How the game wants you to do it is either A, entirely up to you, or B, a certain way the game wants you to do it. Because you only have certain moves when you do this. Like 3 moves, I think, are the most you can get when moving the grid around. You can either move it left and right, or you can press the right trigger to switch it so the panels can move up and down. Once you get them in the perfect, like, line or square with still having your turns intact, you can get a power boost from it. So you can attack like 1.5 times more than you normally could. Like, you'll hit harder. And that could essentially kill enemies in one hit, or just do a lot of damage to them and you kill them on the next turn. Now, for people who know me, you know I don't like puzzles all that much. For people who don't know me, I don't like puzzles all that much. Cause, like, you know, I'm not really the brain thinker kind of guy, but, like, I will admit the first time I played through this game, like, at the beginning, I was dragging. Like, I was having some problems here and there. Like, at first it wasn't nothing because you started the game, like, as you progress through the game, it gets harder. But at the beginning, it wasn't shit. Near the middle is where I started to stutter. Like, Christina was with me from time to time, and she would help me out with some of the puzzles. But other than that, it was a little tough. It was a little tough. I did get used to it at some point. I still struggle from time to time, but not as much as I did, like, near the middle of the game. But if you fail at lining up enemies, you still attack, but you don't hit as hard. You only get that attack boost if you hit as hard. But another thing that you can do in the battle is ask Olivia for help. There's a few things you can do. If you want to ask Olivia for advice, you press X on the controller. She'll probably give you a good idea of what you can do. You can hold B to try to escape, which I will say right now is the worst, I think, in the Paper Mario games, if you're not counting Sticker Star and Color Splash, because before, running away would, like, you wouldn't always successfully run away, but you had a higher chance of running away. Running away in this game is the equivalent of Bobby attacking. It barely works. Like, oh god, I tried to run away so many times just to get a move on, because unlike the first 3 Paper Mario games, you don't level up. There's still no XP in the Paper Mario games, and hasn't been since Sticker Star. The only thing you get from doing battles is coins, and they give you a fuckload. Like, the first fight I ever did in the game gave me over 500 coins, and I was thinking there's got to be a reason for that. And there's a reason for that. Oh, there is a reason why you get so many coins. Those toads I've been saving, that you've probably been saving the whole entire adventure, they aren't grateful enough that you fucking save their lives. So what you can do is that if you have problems solving a puzzle and you want to get a move on, you can do one of two things. You can use your coins and hold the plus button or the pause button on the controller to increase your timer to give you more time to actually solve the puzzle, because you are on a timer when you do this, and if the timer runs out, you have to attack with what you got right then and there. Or you can hold the Y button to pay the ungrateful little shits to actually come in and solve some of the puzzle for you. The more you pay them, the more they'll solve the puzzle for you. So if you pay them a little, they'll move like maybe one space. If you pay them the whole max amount, which is 999 coins, they'll solve the whole fucking thing for you right then and there. And they'll also throw some shit at the enemies to damage them and even heal you from time to time. Though helpful, it pisses me off that I have to pay these guys to help me, because saving their lives apparently wasn't good enough, and they can eat my plumber ass. Ugh. That's the reason why you get so much money in this game, to pay off the toads, to increase your timer, and obviously you can buy things in the shop. I will give the game credit for this, though not Paper Mario 1 and 2 or 3 where you level up. I do think accessories are handled better in this game, in the sense that, first of all, your main weapons of attacking, like your normal boots and your normal hammer, don't fucking break or wear out like how the stickers or the cards work in Sticker Star and Color Splash. Excuse me. Like, they don't run out. You can use the hammer and your standard boots as much as you want and they won't break. You can buy upgraded versions, though, of your weapons, like steel boots, steel hammer, gold boots, shit like that. Upgraded versions of your boots that hit harder or have special properties, like the steel boots can jump on spiked enemies that you normally would use a hammer for. And the game sometimes wants you to do that because you would think you need the spiked enemies to be like in a square, but I swear there were some instances where I had to put them in a line, which I've said, in a line you have to jump on enemies, but some enemies have spikes on them. So I think they want you to use the steel boots. There's no other way around it. Every puzzle I did had an instance where it seemed impossible to put spiked enemies in squares to use my hammer, so I had to use the steel boots. So good thing I was just prepared. Now, additional accessories do break. They do break. But it takes a while for them to break, especially if they're like higher up on the scale, like if they're the rare item or like the stronger item, it does take them longer to break, and it visually shows you when it's about to break. So like if you see your icon has like an X on it, that means it's about to break anytime soon. So like after you use an attack, Mario will like flinch back and a message will come up that says like, oh, your boots or your upgraded hammer broke. Buying them, they don't cost that much money. With how much money you get in this game, it's really not an issue. But I will say, like, it is better than the previous 2 games. Not on point like the first 3 games, but I'd rather just level up, honestly. But at least I'm glad my standard shit never breaks. That's a good thing. That's a step in the right direction right there. So I can't really complain about that. But the regular standard enemies of the game, they're the origami minions. Paper is your friend in this game, whether it be friend or foe. All those paper enemies you fought in the previous games, they're all your friends now, whether they be friend or foe, like Bowser's minions or just standard Toads. Anything paper is your friend because you gotta defeat the origami. So you're only fighting ever origami in this game when you're not fighting like the office supply bosses. And then there's the paper macho enemies, like I mentioned before, where you have to hit the ollie sticker on them before you actually do damage to them because they're invincible otherwise. The boss fights I mentioned earlier, you know. Okay, so the boss fights are unique. Instead of being in the center and then lining up the enemies on the outside, the bosses work where the boss is in the center and you're on the outside. And the way it works, that you can probably see from the footage in front of you, is that you have to line up your path. You step on an arrow and it leads you in that direction until you hit another arrow, and you have to hit the attack symbol on the floor. If you're jumping, you can hit the attack symbol anywhere as long as you hit it. If you're using the hammer, you have to at least be on the second to last one that leads towards the enemy to actually use your hammer for it to work. I do like these boss fights. At first I had trouble with them because like I'm on the outside now and not in the center, but I like the little brain tickler. Like puzzles may not be my forte, but I did like the little accomplishment that I got when I was planning out my movement in my head and I finally got to the boss and I landed a hit on the fucker and I'm like, yeah, fuck you. One thing you can use both in regular fights and in the boss fights is that those Vellumental powers that I mentioned that Olivia can earn, you can use them in the boss fights. And sometimes you have to use them in order to beat the boss because some of them require you use them. So like the fight with the polar bear. I can't remember if I caught this on footage, but you're probably seeing it now in case I did. But one thing is that the polar bear will encase himself in ice. The Vellumental boss of the polar bear, he'll encase himself in ice. So you have to stand on these magical platforms that transform Olivia into the Vellumentals that she got from the previous ones and turn into the Phoenix to melt the ice. Or in the water dragon's case, you turn into the Earth Vellumental to raise the platform up that Mario's on so it can he can avoid its desperation attack. So you got to use the other Vellumentals to your advantage against the one Vellumental you're fighting, and this goes for bosses too. Like, so you don't just activate Vellumental powers by just standing on the Vellumental like platform. You have to press the on button that's on the ground to activate it. This also activates your origami arms. One thing I should have mentioned earlier, but I'm only okay, leave me alone. Throughout the game, you have origami arms, not like at the ready every single time, but there's these panels on the floor that when you step on them, Olivia transforms your arms in like to these origami arms where you can stretch and reach out to peel off stuff on the wall or reveal hidden stairs or shit like that. You can also use these in boss fights, and let me tell you right now, there is nothing more satisfying in this game when you get the enemy pattern just right in a boss fight, and then you hit the on switch, and then you stand on the origami hand symbol, and then just beat the ever-living shit out of them with your origami hands. Like, did you see that? Did you see that shit right there? That felt good. I won't lie, like, at first I was skeptical about the boss fights and like the gameplay as a whole because it looked like a huge brain tickler for somebody who really doesn't do puzzles, but I have to say it actually wasn't that bad. It was actually very satisfying, and moments like that was really nice to have. So it's not my ideal way of playing the game in a Paper Mario series, but it was enjoyable when I did figure out the path in my head and I got like the origami hands or the Vellumentals to beat the shit out of the enemies nice and good. And in one instance in the clip I'm showing now, where I was able to use a Vellumental to get the final hit on a boss just like that, it was nice. Because you know what? I thought of that through in my head, and I got it just right. And you know what? I'm proud of that. I only got like maybe one other thing to talk about, because like this thing's been going on for over an hour. But you know, I had a lot to talk about. So you know, I'm just saying what's on my mind. One thing I did hate, and I don't have footage for this. Is that in the water temple where you fight the water dragon Vellumental, there is this puzzle that I hate in every single game I play. I'll try my best to explain it so you guys know what I'm talking about. You know those puzzles where you have to, say it's like a 3x3 grid, like there's 8 pieces in it instead of 9. and you have to move the pieces around to make a picture or a path. So like there's potentially one piece missing in this 9-box grid, and you don't lift up the panels and put them in other spots. You have to move them around and adjust them in the correct spot. If I can find a clip of it, I'll show you just so like it seems better. But I hate puzzles like that. You do that in the Water Palace, and I only got through it because Christina was there to help me. Dear God, I love that woman because she is way better at puzzles than I am. But I didn't like that. That's one small itty bitty gripe I wanted to bring up before I bring this retrospective to a close, is because it's been going on long enough, and I didn't want to, like, you know, take all of your time and all that. But, like, you know, I had a lot to say. I wanted to bring it up. But that's everything I think I wanted to talk about. I think I'm good now. So, my final thoughts on the game: it's not a bad game. I will say this right now, despite the negatives I had. This game is not a bad game. I honestly did enjoy it for the most part. It shits on Sticker Star and Color Splash, I will say that. But I don't see myself going back to this game anytime soon for a replay. I would still rather go back to the original trilogy of Paper Mario games like 1000 Year Door and Super Paper Mario. But if you were to compare this to the last three we got, so Sticker Star, Color Splash, in this game, I would play this far beyond Sticker Star and Color Splash. It gets a lot of things right, and the charm is there, and I do love it to death for the charm, but the main gameplay of it, though something that is satisfying to pull off later on, especially when you get really good at it, I'd still rather just play, you know, your standard RPG back and forth, and, you know, level up. Like, okay, I'd probably give the game more credit if you can keep the mechanic of lining up enemies and attacking them, but I want to level up. Make the battles worth something, because later down the road, I purposely started ignoring fights when I had a fuckload of money, because, like, you don't get experience from it. If literally this game had it where you could do the puzzle thing like you normally do, and you get experience for it, I would rate this higher than I am right now. It's still a good game. I will say that right now. This game is good. It's not bad. It's nice to see that Paper Mario is getting some sort of leverage back after the last two games. So would I recommend this game to people? Yeah, you know, I would. I'll be straight up with y'all. I would recommend this game to you. If you're the puzzle head kind of type, go for it. I think it's enjoyable. If you're not really the puzzle type, yeah, I'd still say give it a shot, because look at me. I mean, shit, I played it. I'm not really a puzzle guy, and I still enjoyed it. But I think there's something in here for everybody. Whether you're a puzzle guy or not, the charm is there. The characters, although they might not, like, be spectacular, are still nice. And the world and the graphics in general, just beautiful. I got zero complaints pretty much about the worlds, in terms of, like, their actual in structure and all that. All in all, pretty solid game. If I had to rank it 1 out of 10, 7, probably, 6.5. But that's mostly based on personal preference. But if you're interested in getting this game, go for it. I highly recommend it for the most part. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Paper Mario and the Origami King. So I'll catch you guys next time. So with all that said, you all have a good night. Thanks for watching, and dance party!